Donovan Dent is in the transfer portal. Not only is he in the transfer portal, he's the best player in the transfer
Yes.
portal, at least at this stage. Total stud, one of the best point guards in the country, did great things at New Mexico, took them to the round of 32 with Richard Pitino this year. Rich Pitino now at Xavier, makes sense. Donovan Dent looking elsewhere. There's certainly a possibility he could follow his coach, Richard Pitino, to Xavier.
Mhm.
We can touch on that. But early returns here are that the best schools in the country want Donovan Dent, and that Donovan Dent wants the best schools in the country. Donovan Dent has told KSR that he has heard from Kentucky, UCLA, Gonzaga, and Louisville directly at this point. There are other schools that have expressed interest, including Kansas and Duke at this point. I believe Donovan Dent's agent says the bluest of blue bloods, the highest of the high majors, every single one of them has called. And that's where this recruitment is headed. What's your general perception of Donovan Dent, the player, Ralph?
I'd call two. He's an awesome college player. He's got a pro future somewhere, that's certain, whether it's in the NBA, overseas, G League. He's going to be a pro who makes a lot of money playing this game for a long time. So the fact he's staying in college one more year, he's going to get a giant bag from somebody. The bigger schools need or have the money to throw around. And a lot of them, too, need point guards because a lot of them just went through coaching changes the last year or two. And so you're trying to stabilize your roster. What better way to do it than with a veteran who's a potential All-American? It's probably going to be a preseason first or second team All-American next season, who also adds some positional versatility, by the way. And I haven't heard this get talked about with Dent a lot because he played point for New Mexico. Very good point guard. He averaged over 6 assists per game, I believe. Like, he was a really, really good playmaker. But he also averaged like 20 points. And his skill set is not entirely dependent on him having the ball in his hands. He can be an off ball guy too and be effective. So his ability to play like the one or the two, depending on maybe freshmen you have coming in or other guys you have coming back, I think he offers more positional versatility that makes him even more appealing. You're recruiting him to play point guard, but maybe you can get him to, 35, 36 minutes a night, eight of that playing off the ball if you have some point guard you need to make sure you give some minutes to.
Yeah, you think about it too. He's got to be comfortable at this point playing with other stars, both in the backcourt and just on the team in general. You think back to that New Mexico team 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was Studley. He was very good, but he was mixed into that backcourt with Jalen House, with Jamal Mashburn. True Washington was a freshman at that point, but became a nice player. And then in the front court, you had JT Toppin with Junior Joseph. Honestly, we look back on that New Mexico team, it was loaded. But I think that speaks to your point where with Dent, like out of everyone on that New Mexico team, we saw Toppin transfer, we saw Mashburn leave, we saw Jalen House run out of eligibility.
Mhm.
Donovan Dent was kind of the guy who was like willing to make it work with them and then willing to become the face of it after them. And I think it's a well deserved, I guess, evolution for him because he didn't jump at his first chance to portal here. Not that there's
Mhm.
anything wrong with that, but he really became a great player and did some great things for the New Mexico program. And then
Yes.
once it became time, okay, my coach is leaving. Now let me go cash in and have one really, really great season. Um, I think there's a lot of schools that would love him. Probably every school in the country would love him. Can you think of a reason why any school should not want Donovan Dent? Because to the Kentucky point,
Yep.
he's naming Kentucky out loud right now.
Hmm.
They've got Jasper Johnson and Acaden Lewis coming in. Those are freshmen that committed under the guise of we are your backcourt. We
Hmm.
know that it can be finicky for coaches, let alone a guy Mark Pope who's never done this before, to manage egos of a five-star freshman, let alone two in a backcourt with a grad transfer that wants to be a star. So, like, is this one of those situations where if Donovan Dent says, "Hey, I'm interested," any coach in the country takes him and figures out the ramifications after that?
Yes. The only reason that you don't try and go get him is you know you can't get him and you don't want to waste your time and your resources pursuing him, right? With Kentucky in particular, this happened last year with Amari Williams, where he had committed under the guise of him being the guy, and then other guys committed, and Pope had to fly out to like meet with him and make sure things were okay. And now he's one of their most important pieces on the Sweet 16 team. From that perspective, I think that would be fine, but everybody should go after him. Like, again, because of positional versatility, I think he can play a number of different roles, which makes him even more appealing. You're not penciling him in and making sure that fits no matter what. There's some malleability with all of that and his game that again makes him even more attractive to just about any situation.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think he's going to end? Like, obviously, he's starting the opening of the portal as
Yeah,
the best player, the biggest fish, biggest prize. Do you think he will end this portal offseason as the best player that transferred?
I do because I don't know how many guys are left above him that could potentially go. Like not even like are thinking about it, but that have eligibility left.
Right. Yeah, this is like what would you say, like top 15 player in the country this year? Is that too low?
Yeah, top 15, top 20. Certainly. He was not an AP All American, but a lot of publications and a lot of sites did have him as an All American.
Yeah. Yeah, the only guys I could think of, and I don't mean to wish cast this, uh, like they're rumored Braden Smith smoke. Like you'd be looking at a player that's like a true All-American that surprises people. I don't
Right.
anticipate there's going to be anyone better than Donovan Dent that enters. So, and his early list seems like it reflects that. Now, here's an interesting part of this for me. So shout out to Jacob Polachek, KSR, friend of the program. We love him. He has really the first detailed coverage of Donovan Dent's recruitment that I've been able to find in the last couple days. And there's some quotes that Donovan Dent's camp gave here that just baffle me. I want to get your thought on this. The quote is this: I actually don't even think he's going to take visits. He's a young man now. He's going to be a senior. It's his last school. It's not about visiting the school. For him right now, it's all going to come down to what's the right fit. What gives me the best chance to have the opportunity to play in the Final Four, hopefully after that be a first round pick. Visiting the school, seeing the campus, he's past that. He doesn't need the bells and whistles. He's been through that song and dance. I talked to him today and he's like, I don't need to visit anybody. I need to go to the right spot. Can I get to the Final Four? You're clapping. I have a very different interpretation of this. Why do you like this?
This is a business year. You go to visit campus to get wooed by all the extracurriculars that aren't basketball related. This is a business year for Donovan Dent. That's what that's telling me.
I'm okay with that. I think it should be a business year, but let me use Mark Pope as the example to this. Mark Pope's entire thing that works here is relationship. Caden Lewis is coming to Kentucky because he came to my barber shop. Kobe Bryant says, I chose Kentucky over the Blue Bloods because of that guy. How can a kid who's sitting here saying, yeah, I don't have time to build a relationship, I just want a Final Four ready team? That's Dent's approach here? Give me the check. Give me a roster that's good enough. I don't want to take your phone calls. I'm committing tomorrow. So what school is supposed to
It's
do
not
that?
it's not phone calls and conversations. It's I don't need to go to you for you to woo me with stuff that's not basketball.
That's fine. But there's a level of seriousness that isn't here, in my opinion, if you're not willing to go sit with the person in person that's going to have to give you the Final Four roster you're asking for. It's March 26th. His agent is
But
saying he's going to commit by April 1st. How can you even feel confident that you're committing to a Final Four ready roster if you don't go talk to the coach in person about what the roster building plan is?
everything you just said about Mark Pope, by the way, was him, Mark Pope, going to a barber shop and going to this place and going that place. Like that part can still be done. I'm applauding and clapping Dent because I get the way it comes across to me is there are no frills about this. You're not going to woo me over because you have the most beautiful girls on campus or that this nice lovely section of your campus in the middle is beautiful and awesome in the fall or that I can go see an awesome football game or that your locker room's super great. Just keep it about ball for this 1 year.
Maybe that is the right interpretation. I just don't like it with the timing of this because he's acting like, oh, this is about making a Final Four.
Mhm.
If you're committing in the next 3 days, you don't know what roster you're even committing to. The only way you're going to get to the path you want to get to is by really spending the time with a coach to figure out what the plan is and what you need around you. And to me, just the way this agent is commenting, if he's really not going to visit anywhere, to me that signals one of two things. Number one, he just wants a bag. He wants a no nonsense, give me the bag, let's get it done, whatever. Or two, maybe he knows where he's going and they're enjoying soaking this up a little bit with being the hottest name in the portal. But yeah, I don't really need to take visits because I know where I'm going. Do you have any thoughts to where that might be? I mean, Kentucky is, I guess, sort of the early rumored favorite just because he's commenting publicly
Yeah.
on them. But as I mentioned, Richard Pitino could bring him to Xavier. There's a lot of other blue bloods with money on this list.
My guess is if he's making the decision like this week, it's a roster that's already pretty much set, which indicates there's a lot of freshmen involved or returners who are not hitting the portal, which is probably like a Kentucky or a Duke, somewhere like that, unless he knows he's got other people coming with him or somebody else who's committing to that same school that he is as well, which could surely be the case. A lot of these guys talk, a lot of them have the same agents. The agents talk too. It would not surprise me if it goes to a Kentucky where there's a lot of freshmen, or he goes, let's say Kansas, and it's shortly followed or right after some other big commitments as well.
There's some parallels here. It reminds me of John L. Davis last year, where there was like speculation, okay, maybe he'll go with the coach. But in general, that recruitment was really quiet. It was like all these blue bloods want him, nothing for 2 months. And then all of a sudden he pops up on campus with Cal and ends up there. So I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I will say, just as an outsider, little skeptical that he's really going to commit in like 3 days. If he doesn't want to take visits, my guess is he doesn't commit anywhere for a while. And then we revisit this in a while. If it were just pure prediction right now, place a future on this or something, I'll throw out two. I think he could go to Xavier and just follow Richie P. That would be a clear reason you don't need to take visits for me. And then second, I would bet he ends up at Kansas over Kentucky. Specifically because if this kid's not going to give you the time of day for a visit, I'll tell you point blank, I don't think Mark Pope will spend the money needed on a guy like that. Maybe a total misread by me, I don't know. But we know Mark Pope's after Eagle staff. We know there's going to be other portal guys that he wants. We know his backcourt's already loaded. I just don't think Pope's going to give you the big asking price you want if you're acting like you're too good to take a visit to the school. We know a coach who will do that. Bill Self will lock up Donovan Dent tomorrow for $5 million dollars and figure it out later. That's also been a huge reason why Bill Self's teams have been a disaster the last 2 years. So I'll call Kansas my early clubhouse favorite here. I'll call Xavier my secondary favorite. What's your official hierarchy here of where you expect?
I think Xavier's out. I don't think you transfer saying I want to go to a Final Four team if Xavier is your ultimate destination. I'll do respect to Xavier, but there's a lot that they have to replace this year. I like Kansas. I put Kansas as my number three. I like the fit there a lot though, because like one of the reasons why Kansas has struggled is they have not had perimeter scoring. They have not had leadership from the point guard position or what they've needed from DeJuan Harris. Dent fixes all of that. I would have Kentucky at number one. That seems to be where things are headed right now. Another Patino at number two. Needs a point guard. Has a team
Yeah.
that's kind of Final Four ready with Juby Ejiofor back, with RJ Lewis back. Needs a point guard. Has money to blow.
Yeah.
Could be in New York.
I like that a lot. I think that might be my favorite fit, to be honest. Dent,
Yeah.
Lewis, Sanoan, Ejiofor.
Yeah.
Or Kansas. I think you throw them on Kansas. I mean, Peterson, Badunga, Dent. I don't even care who you have around you, right?
Good group.
And that's no disrespect to Kentucky, but it's not as clean to me there. Because then what are you benching one of the freshmen? Are you going super small and playing all three?
Mm.
Where does Otega Owe fit in? Who's the center on that team? Like, there's still a lot of dominoes to fall with Pope's roster.
It's crowded. Certainly, it would be crowded, but people thought this year's Kentucky team was crowded. They
Sure.
figured it out.
That's fair. All right. We'll have a lot more Donovan Dent coverage, or maybe we'll just have a commitment video in like 24 hours based on how his agent is talking. We'll see.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.